Imagine for a second a civilization that literally built paradise on Earth. Not with magic, but with one of the greatest engineering marvels of the ancient world. A society so prosperous its fame was legendary, stretching all the way from Yemen to Greece and Rome. Well, this is the story of that paradise and how it all came crashing down. So that's the big question, right? How can a paradise, one that's defended by this supposedly unbreakable dam, just vanish overnight? They had everything: wealth, peace, an engineering masterpiece. How could it all just disappear? And the answer? Well, it's just wild. It wasn't war, it wasn't famine. The end came from something so small, so insignificant, that absolutely no one ever saw it coming. All right, so to really get how this all went wrong, you first have to understand just how incredibly right they got it. We have to talk about the genius behind what they built. Okay, so we're talking about the people of Saba. You might know them as the Sabines. They lived in what's now modern-day Yemen, way back around 800 BCE. And these folks were not messing around. They were one of the wealthiest, most advanced civilizations on the planet. Masters of trade and, as we're about to see, absolute masters of engineering. So the Sabaeans had this classic problem, right? Every rainy season, you've got these massive floods rushing down from the mountains, just washing through the valley and straight out to sea. A total waste of all that precious water. Their solution? It was unbelievably ambitious. They decided to build a massive dam right between the two mountains to catch every single drop. And listen, they did not build small. The Marib Dam was this colossal structure, stretching 600 meters across the entire valley. I mean, for the ancient world, this was an absolutely mind-boggling project. And just look at how they built this thing. This wasn't just a pile of rocks, okay? They used these huge, cut stones, reinforced them with molten lead, and then sealed all the joints with iron to handle the insane water pressure. It even had this really sophisticated system of 14 sluice gates to manage the irrigation perfectly. I mean, this thing was built to last forever. It was considered, literally, unbreakable. So, with their water problem totally solved, what kind of life did this dam create? Well, it wasn't just good, it was legendary. This single piece of engineering kicked off a true golden age. The Quran itself actually paints a picture of what happened next. That controlled water supply turned this desert valley into a huge, sprawling oasis. It talks about two gardens, one stretching out on the right side of the valley and another on the left. Just imagine, as far as you could see. And get this, it speaks to the incredible abundance they had. Ancient accounts say that the fruit trees were so full, a person could just walk through the orchards with an empty basket on their head, and by the time they got to the other side, it would be full, just filled with ripe fruit that had fallen in on its own. Unbelievable. It was, for all intents and purposes, a utopia. The air was said to be so clean and the land so perfectly kept that there were no flies, no mosquitoes, no pests at all. The whole valley was just filled with these amazing, fragrant scents. It actually became known as the health resort of the ancient world, a paradise whose fame was known everywhere. But, and you knew there was a but coming. Here's the turn. This is where a story about amazing ingenuity becomes a cautionary tale. What happens when a perfect life stops feeling like a blessing and starts to feel like, well, a burden? Now, according to the story, the deal they had was simple. They were given this paradise, and all that was asked for in return was gratitude. Just enjoy everything and be thankful. Somehow, though, they lost that perspective. The people of Saba got so used to their easy, comfortable life that they actually started to see its blessings as problems. Their perfect existence started to feel boring, even annoying. And this led to a really shocking prayer. See, their towns were built close together, which made travel safe and easy for everybody, rich and poor. But they grew arrogant. They actually prayed to God to make the distances between their towns longer, to create hardship, to create deserts, all so they wouldn't have to mingle with the lower classes. I mean, can you imagine? It was the ultimate act of ingratitude. So their downfall, when it finally came, wasn't some big divine thunderbolt from the sky. No, it was something much quieter and way more insidious. It started from within the very foundation of their entire world. Historical accounts start talking about the appearance of this very specific type of mouse called the jarve. And look, these weren't your average field mice. They were described as having this almost unnatural strength, with teeth that could chew through not just wood, but stone and even the metal reinforcements inside the dam. So, while the people were just lost in their own world of luxury and arrogance, these little creatures were busy, silently, unseen. They started to tunnel right through the foundations of that great dam, weakening the massive stones, hollowing out the supposedly indestructible masterpiece from the inside out. And then it happened. One night, a massive storm hits. The rain comes pouring down, and a torrent of water, bigger than anything they'd seen before, slams against the dam. But this time, the structure, secretly weakened, hollowed out from the inside, it couldn't hold. It just burst with this deafening roar. The event is known as Sile el-Aram, which means the flood of the dam. A wall of water just tore through the valley, wiping out everything in its path. When the sun came up the next morning, the paradise was gone, and in its place was a powerful warning that has echoed through history ever since. And the transformation, it was absolute. Those lush gardens, they became a wasteland of bitter, useless shrubs. That beautiful, fragrant air was replaced by the smell of mud and decay. And that once prosperous society was completely shattered, its people scattered across the land, broken. You know, the incredible thing is, you can still go there today. The ruins of this once great dam are still standing in Yemen. It's a tourist destination and a physical, tangible reminder of this entire incredible story. And that really brings us to the core lesson of this story. The people of Saba, they believed their engineering made them invincible, but the warning here is crystal clear. No wall, no dam, no amount of technology can protect a society from the consequences of its own arrogance. You know, we live in an age of technological wonders that just dwarf the Marib Dam. We've engineered our world for a level of comfort and convenience that the Sabaeans couldn't even dream of. So the question we're left with is a pretty heavy one. Can we honestly say our gratitude is any greater?